kind of get to this part, but that's what's called the Turing test. If there comes a point where this thing is so sophisticated, and no matter, and it's imitating things at such a high level that an actual computer can distinguish the simulation from a real person, then you have to qualify that as that goes to several Turing test. But what's happened is several has been right in a more limited sense that there's other kinds of systems that will claim to do that. Yeah. This is what's called. These are the fundamental things of what's called philosophy of mind. Some people claim it's all syntax and model. There's far more robust arguments against Cyril. Others claim, no, it's syntax of the right sort, structured together with interactions with the environment that allow for emergent patterns that are more Others say it's something totally different. Even if you have all those layers, emergence doesn't account for change them. So philosophy of mind deals with all these way beyond this one. Yeah. Good. Sorry, other question? Yeah.
The smart cars, is not a good example of what kind of he's talking about?
Yeah, those things are programmed with what's called fuzzy logic. Okay? It's building on this, but it's more. And it actually learns from the user in such a way that it can adapt to the user's preferences. But it's still not meaning-based. It's still just sort of getting feedback from the environment, and it's doing it in a more intelligent way. So again, what Cyril knocked down was something called strong AI. That's the version that says all this stuff, syntax is meaning, and he says no, it's not. Weak AI has continued today. Basically, all programs that you see out there today are along these lines, Siri and all the rest. No, these things are not exactly the same as human beings. They're not the same as in terms of capturing what movie's about, but we can get at it in approximate ways, like with Deep Blue or with language simulators, and we can get these working in domain-specific ways that kind of make sense, and they work sort of intelligently, but they're not the big prize, which is what is our mind, what is our intelligence about.
So when they say AI can be smarter, isn't that relative? Smarter?
Well, it can always be smarter. The question is, how much can it capture? And that's still the big unknown question. You got those in Silicon Valley who are saying it's just a matter of time. There's going to be a revolution. Computers will take over. We're almost at that cusp. It's sometimes called the singularity. There's going to be a point in which everything changes. There's going to be a new technology coming in that's going to be so more advanced than everything else. All the right pieces come together the right way, and then boom, it bumps to the next level. We will change the species. Everything.
Well, right now
Others are saying this is technobabble. It doesn't make any sense. And if you look at the actual arguments for it, they don't support it. That's where we get. If you're interested, that's called philosophy of mind. It explores all these issues. Okay, the point is this kind of thing. It's thought experiment. Its basis is sort of the inspiration for several arguments. Kind of make sense? All right, let's move on. Last one. Like I said, today is just a tour of all kinds of stuff. A smorgasbord. Okay, let's do it. Now A2. And then where does this one start? A and then? So what's the form of this? A, double arrow, not. Are they the same? Copy paste the same? Exactly the same. So it's A, double arrow, not A. So what is that equivalent to? A, if and only if. There you go. It's tautology. It doesn't say it's equivalent to itself. So the answer is A. Because not cancels out, right? So without having to look at all this nonsense, this is what I mean by layers of form. If you take the LSAT and you've got the logic, basically the analytical section, you'll be given all these word problems. You can extract away from that and sort of see its form, and you can instantly recognize, oh, this is what that actually is. Without going, oh, what's all the details of it? Sam was here, and then if that happens, then this is too much detail. The logic gives you is basically a way to cut through the detail, see if you can go. That cancels, so this is just A and OK. Yeah, that's how you put it. Because if I did this in terms of the truth table, A can be. So when it's true, it's. When it's false, it's. A is equivalent. This is basically saying A is equivalent to itself. Good. 10.2. Let's do that now. You got an argument, and you're doing the same thing. You're just doing the underlining, and then then you're trying to figure out the question. So do the underlining first, and then I'll go over it. So we got to speed up a little. It's just taking longer than I thought, which is good. Okay, so you do the underlining thing. Let's do it together. Think of this as one whole problem. So it's that and that, that and that, that and that. And then label each of these things. What do you want to call that first piece? Capital A and B. And is this, and think in relation to each other. Is this different? Yeah, so C and D. And then the last part, E and F, because they're all different pieces, right? So does E and F have any relation to A, B, and C and D? No. So the option you're given here, you're given now three options. Either one, it's tautologically valid. This is taut con. Remember taut con? If the premises are true under the main connective, then the conclusion also is true under the main connective. It says if you do a true table with those three things as premises and that is the conclusion, it would be a taut con if under the main connectives for the premises it's true, if the conclusion is also true. You check that. But since E and F have no relation to these things, it's not a tautological constant, or it's not tautologically valid. Now the next question is B, logically but not tautologically valid. Logical validity is basically anacon. It's exactly the same. So the question now is this an anacon of these two things? If I chose anacon here and highlighted these two things with this one, anacon says take into account the meaning of the connectives plus quantifiers plus predicate, the full meaning. If this follows, then that's what anacon is. That's a true explanation of anacon. I couldn't give you that way that quick. So let's look at the meaning. A is Q, and B is a Q. Also A is a small n. Put these together. A is small q. This says something is a small q. So if you know A is a small q, does it follow that something is a small q? Yes. You know what it says? B is a large q. It says something's a large q. Does that follow? Yes. So this is anacon basically means it has to be true. One other option goes into the next slide. I'm going to mention this. Modal logic explores totally different logic than ours, but it's built upon the same. Remember, our logical system is like the simplest of all logical systems. Modal logic describes the relation between possibility and necessity. It's got interesting applications. Here's one in particular. This others are too advanced. I can't really talk about. This operator is called the necessary operator. This is called the modal operator or possible operator, right? So none of you have heard of this before. And it's actually one of the little things in the legal ages that starts to develop this stuff. I mean, not to develop earlier, but they start to apply this stuff, and they're interested in what's called the problem of free will versus determinism. There's many variations on this thing. In fact, in modern science, it has versions that have nothing to do with God as such. So the form of this problem has arisen in time immemorial. Okay, so think of this as the sphere. What is God's influence in the universe? Is there anything outside of God's influence? God is all-knowing, all-powerful, all the rest. So the idea is it covers everything, right? There's nothing outside that. So this symbol right here is necessary. Necessarily, God has dominion over the medium. Make sense? It just means diagram. Now the problem arises, it's claimed that we have free will, we have choice. How does that actually work? You can think of it diagrammatically like this. If we truly have free will, and we're not like puppets on a string, what I mean by that is, if we're granted actual free will, then we're not like sort of puppets, right? So God is the master puppeteer. We're like, I have free will, I raise my hand, I have choice, but in fact, we're just being moved around, right? God knows exactly what I'm going to do, when I do it. I claim I have free will, but he knows so much that he actually knows what's going to happen beforehand. What looks like free will isn't really free. That makes sense? It's actually a sequence of causal relations before that have actually determined exactly what's going to happen in the future. There's no other possibility. So if free will is possible, then the question gets raised. There's a little, think of it as a little niche, a little carved out space in this space of everything, right? How is it possible, that's a simple possibility, to have true free will that is outside of God's domain? That seems to complicate. God necessarily has dominion over everything inside, and yet he says, I willingly restrain easy versions of this have been solved, but the harder versions have not. It's still considered to be an outstanding metaphysical problem. Those who study theology, they get higher level degrees, they have to study this subject matter over and over again. There's interesting attempts to solve this, but no one's been convinced thus far that there are easy concepts in the solution. It's considered to be the rainbow metaphysical problem. So there's one application. Theologians and logicians in medieval times were trying to use and develop this modal logic to solve, hopefully, and better understand this problem of free will versus determinism. All right, moving on. We've got 10 point, the last two, 10.12 and 13. But before we do that, I have to cover this inner layer right here, which we haven't done so far. So the inner layer related to relations to statements is what's called FO validity. FO, first order validity of first action. Two statements. It's not validity, it's consequence. It doesn't matter, because none of this is on the final, but it's FO consequence. FO validity is what's up there. This is FO consequence. Okay? So the idea behind FO consequence is first order consequence. Let's use this diagram again. The tautology is connectives and nothing else. It has to be true. FO validity is connectives plus quantifiers but nothing else, right? So that means the predicates don't matter. So if I replace the predicates in the argument with total rubbish, total nonsense, a parallel argument, just total rubbish, and I find that something else has to follow, then it shows that it's an FO consequence. Let's use the classic example from day one. All people are mortal. Socrates is a person, therefore Socrates is mortal. You guys all said yes, it follows, it's valid, right? The question is why? It turns out it doesn't depend upon your knowledge of personal mortality, but the form underlying it. The form has this form. All blah of blah. This thing is that first blah, therefore that second thing is the second thing. Okay? To show you that, let's use again, I substitute the actual predicate person and mortal with total rubbish. Snurfy is not a word, that's intentional. Neither is Mufi. Muchi. I don't even know what I wrote down. Muchi. It's not Mufi, it's Muchi. Oh, I have Mufi? Even better. I'm so confused with these non-words I can get Muchi. Muchi, it's like a bad mochi now. So all, what does it say? All Snurfies are Muchi. All Snurfies are Muchi. No, Socrates is Snurfy. If all Snurfies are Muchi and Socrates is Snurfy, Socrates has got to be Muchi. So therefore this is the idea of epocon. You might think that's total nonsense, it's total rubbish, that's ridiculous. You actually encounter this and you don't even realize it in like when you're growing up. I mentioned this before. Lewis Carroll, what has he written? Charles Dodson. He was a logician, octagon. Some like things. There's some expose saying he was a pervert. Who knows? Child. He's a brilliant guy. He wrote, Lewis Carroll, what did he write? You guys know this. Alice in Wonderland. You think, oh, this is great, and somebody, the hookah smoking caterpillar, that must have been when he was smoking to produce this, right? And maybe that's true, but actually not. He was actually encoding layers upon layers of logical problems into these silly children's stories. A better example of that, it's actually in Alice in Wonderland, but a better example, this kind of notion of movie surfing and all the rest, this idea that you can substitute in nonsense predicates and you can still get an underlying sense of meaning, even if you can't quite figure it out. Does anyone know? Jabberwockiness, how does that go? Yeah, 'twas brillig and slithy toads, and dire gimbled in the wave. While musing where the coral grows and the mole rats are gray. Beware the bandersnatch, blah blah. It goes on and on and on. You're like, what is this? And yet it sounds in the flow of things like it's kind of making sense, right? He is substituted in there for actual predicates, this nonsense, and he's got this flow of reasoning. He's saying there's a logical structure to this, and it's also making possible how we understand things in other languages. Kind of makes sense? Okay, so just trust me. Let's move on. So for 10.12 and 13, we're just adding in that new layer. Can I erase this right here?
Yeah.
All right. go faster. What's the first one say?
It says
Just give me it left to right. Exactly. AX